Hello. Hello. Welcome. Welcome to the Right Fit Marriage Show, your one-stop for tips to help you to succeed in marriage. If you've joined the show, just say something in the comment box. Let me know that you are here with me. Hello, welcome to the Right Fit Marriage Show, your one-stop for tips to help you to succeed in marriage. If you've already joined the show, let me know in the comments box. Just say hello to me, and let me know that you are there with me, and we will start shortly. Let's just wait for a few more people to join up in the show. Thank you for joining the show. We'll start right away. Hello, Eunice. Hello, thank you for joining the show. Again, I welcome you to the Right Fit Marriage Show, your one-stop for tips to help you to succeed in marriage. If you're already listening, please share this broadcast on your timeline. Invite your friends to listen in. Let's learn together about marriage. Today, we're going to continue our discussion on the topic abuse in marriage. Last week, we talked about abuse in marriage, and today we're going to also look again at abuse in marriage. And specifically today, the question, I'm asking the question, are you emotionally abusive? That's what we're looking at today. Are you as a person emotionally abusive? Something has always bothered me in this matter of abuse. Usually we see situations of abuse, especially in marriage. We we begin to advise the person. We help them to understand when they should leave and all those kind of things, which are good. But I've always wondered, how does an emotionally abusive person start and grow slowly to the extent that they are a terror to their wife or to their husband? Is it that they just wake up one day and become that bad? Or is it that they have been growing slowly to be like that and people around them have been observing it, but nobody had noticed, or nobody had called their attention to it, or nobody had made them to be accountable? And so I thought today that let us err on the side of caution. Let us assume that some people are even abusive, but they don't even know that they're abusive. So let's look at the topic today. Are you emotionally abusive? So that's what we're going to look at. Last week, I did say that abuse in marriage is a disturbing and growing problem in our communities. It shocked me to find out that even in America, 60% of the people who were interviewed by somebody who is working in this area said that either they or somebody who they know is in an emotionally abusive marriage. That means that it's a big problem. That means that here, where we are not even, keeping records and researching, the percentage is probably as high or maybe even higher. And now, it's good for us to know that the statistics are saying this. But what the statistics say is not just for information. It should help us to recognize the magnitude of the problem we're facing. And it should help us to know that all of us need to be on the alert. All of us need to be enlightened. All of us need to know what it is that we are to do. So I'd like to ask you as well today, when you look at your life, when you look at your neighborhood, when you look at your colleagues at work, do you know emotionally abusive people? Do you know somebody who is abusing their husband or wife? Or do you know somebody who is being abused by their husband and wife? Write your answer in the comment box for me. Let me see. And while I wait for you, I want to remind us again that the reason that I did the live broadcast last week and I'm doing the one today is because all of us, every single one of us, must take an active role in addressing this matter of abuse and find solutions to it. So it's not enough for us to just, we wake up, we hear on the news or in social media, and then we are saying, hey, what is happening? What is happening? It's good to do that, but we must go one step further. We must begin to enlighten ourselves. What is this abuse? How is it happening around me? What is in my power to do to halt it? That's the reason why I did the broadcast last week and I'm doing the one today. Last week, I gave you signs. I told you that, almost every day, maybe somebody who is having a problem in their marriage will come to meet you and, either complain or ask for help. Now, how do you know whether they're just having a regular marriage problem or they're having an abusive marriage? I shared last week, hello Ezinne, thank you for joining the show. I shared last week that there are 3 types of marriages: the disappointing marriage, the difficult marriage, and the emotionally abusive marriage. Muyiwa, thank you as well for joining. She says she knows an emotionally abusive person and someone who was abused badly. So last week, we looked at how to recognize an abusive marriage. And I also shared with you the names and the contact informations for 3 organizations that work with men or women who are experiencing abuse in their marriage. I'm not going to go over all the things I said last week. Olajumoke, thank you as well for joining the show. I'm just going to say to you that episode 25 has how you recognize an abusive marriage and also how you recognize that somebody is being abused. Now, in an emotionally abusive marriage, there are 2 parties. There is the abused person, that's the person who is suffering, the person who is being hurt, the person who is experiencing the pain, and then there is also the abuser, the person who is inflicting the abuse on the abused person. Today, I want to look at the abuser. The term abuse, what does it mean? It describes a type of relationship between 2 people. Today, we are looking at marriage. Abuse can also be in parent-child relationship. Abuse can, even your neighbor can be abusive towards you in the way they relate with you. Your colleague at work or your boss, even your pastor can abuse you. So abuse is not how do you say it, is not limited only to marriage. But what makes it very serious in marriage is that, here is somebody you're living with 24/7. There is no opportunity for escape. So what an abusive relationship means is this: one person, that is the abuser, is mistreating or is misusing the other person who is the abused. So there is an abuser who is misusing, who is mistreating the abused person. Now, the important words in that definition is, number one, mistreat, and the second one is misuse. Mistreat and misuse. It means somebody is mistreating and is misusing another person. What that means is that it means that there is a standard way. There is an accepted way. There is a way that anybody who is in a relationship with another person should be treating them. And I've talked about that in many other episodes of the Right Fit Marriage Show. But we say that somebody is abusing their partner, whether husband and wife, if the abuser is violating that standard. If the way the abuser is treating their partner is way, way below that standard. Because, as I said earlier, because we're now very much more aware of abuse, a lot of conversation is going on. Abused people now know. They're able to recognize when they're being abused. They know what to do. They sometimes know where to go. Agreed, there is not much courage yet to go. But I'm sure that with this degree of enlightenment and awareness, over time, abused people will not be taking things lying low. But the truth is that if we're talking only to the abused people, and we are not talking to the abusers, we're not holding them accountable, especially in the early stages, then abuse is not going to go away. So that's why we are talking today on the topic, are you emotionally abusive? So if we're to stop emotional abuse, if we're to stop abuse of any type, we must also talk of abuse from the standpoint of the abuser. So if you're just joining us, this is the Right Fit Marriage Show, your one stop for tips to help you to succeed in marriage. And the topic that I'm talking about today is, are you emotionally abusive? So how does one, how will you know if you are emotionally abusive? Or if you are looking at somebody, how will you know that they are emotionally abusive? How will you know that if their partner doesn't come to tell you that I am being abused, how will you know? I'm going to give you a number of questions that you should ask when you are watching people, or if you think somebody is abusive. The very first question is this: do you react to the important people in your life by ignoring them completely and not acknowledging their presence, especially when they do something you don't like? There are some people, if you are their friend, or if you are their wife, or if you are their husband, when you offend them, the way they show you that you have offended them is that they will just ignore you. They will no longer talk to you. They won't have anything to do with you. I'm always alarmed. I've had stories of couples who lived in the same house for over a year, and they were communicating only by SMS. When that is happening, there is great danger. Something is wrong. So the first question you should ask is this: you yourself, do you react to the important people in your life by ignoring them completely and not acknowledging their presence, especially when they have offended you? If you are doing that, and you are doing that habitually, you are doing that regularly, that is your normal way of responding, then you need to check yourself. You are abusing your partner. The second question is this: are you always putting the blame for everything that happens to you on your partner? So if anything is going wrong, even in your own life, you say, if it is not you that is making my situation to be this way, if it wasn't what you did, I won't be in this kind of a situation. In short, if you are somebody who does not take responsibility for the things that you do, and you are always blaming your partner, your husband or your wife, for your bad moods or your frustrations or the things that are not going on well in your life, check yourself. If you are doing that habitually, you are on your way to being identified as an emotionally abusive person. Do you always criticize your partner and tell them that they are unreliable, they are not good? Especially when you are upset. If you are somebody who does that, you are on your way to being classified as an abusive person. Are you somebody that, your partner finds you always moody? Nothing that they do satisfies you. There is no matter how much effort they make, the only thing you will see is how they did not do it well enough. If you are that kind of a person, you are on your way to being classified as an emotionally abusive person. If you are the kind of person that once you are angry, your partner is diving for cover. Once you are upset, your partner is running away, doesn't even want to be near you because they know that you are going to explode. Watch it. Especially if that is how you behave regularly, you are on your way to being classified as an abusive person. Are you somebody, who, when things irritate you, or when you are upset, or when you are angry, the next thing you will do is say to your partner, I'm so angry with you, I will just slap you. Or if you don't get out of my way, you will see what I will do to you. If you are somebody who makes those kind of statements habitually, no matter how provoked you are somebody who is not having control over yourself, and you are on your way to being classified as an emotionally abusive person. Are you somebody who, when you are upset with your partner, before you know it, you have taken their property, you have destroyed it? Or, you just carry a bottle and break it. Or, you are just somebody who, once you are provoked, you are no longer in control of yourself. You are no longer responsible for your actions. You do things that when you think of it, or when other people hear of it, they know for sure that this person is not in control of yourself. If you are that kind of a person, and that is the way you behave habitually, then you are on your way to being classified as an emotionally abusive person. Are you somebody who, when you are angry with your partner, you walk out on them, and when you walk out on them, you can leave the house, you don't let them know where you're going, you don't call them when you're away? You need to watch it. You may say you are escaping from them so that you won't do something bad, but also, that is also meaning that you are not able to control yourself. So that is being on the way to being emotionally abusive. Are you somebody who, if you and your partner are in public, you will treat them nicely, but if you are at home with them when nobody is seeing you, you will treat them badly? That means the way you relate with your spouse outside when people are seeing you is different from the way that you relate with your spouse when other people are seeing, when you are alone with them. Then you have to check yourself as well, especially if that is the way you do on a regular basis. Are you somebody who, When your partner comes to you and says, please, I don't like this thing, you just respond defensively. That's how I am. If you don't like it, I don't know, other people manage me. If you're somebody who is like that your partner cannot point out what you are doing wrong to you without you being defensive, without you being angry, without you blowing your top, then, and if that is the way you do regularly, then you are on your way to being to being classified as an abusive person. And the last one I'm going to say is this: are you somebody who finds it difficult to apologize? You do something that is bad, you treat your spouse badly, and then after you have calmed down, you just expect your partner to continue with life as usual. It is hard for you to just turn to them and say, when I look back on what I did, I realize that I hurt you. I'm sorry. If you are that kind of a person, then you are on your way to being classified as an emotionally abusive person. Muyiwa says emotionally abusive persons lack emotional intelligence. Basically, yes, I could have said that, but if I say that, people will hear it and assume that it doesn't apply to them. I wanted to use examples that are practical and which we can understand. So the first person I'm speaking to tonight is somebody who is listening to me or who will listen to the replay. And I want you to listen to this broadcast again and again and ask yourself the questions I've asked and answer them honestly. If you are having these behaviors in your life and you are doing them on a regular basis, consistently, that's how you did yesterday, that's how you are doing today, that's how you're going to do tomorrow. If that's the way that you are doing, then you are in the early stages of abuse. What will just happen over time is that you'll be getting worse and worse, and you would not know that anything that you are doing is wrong. The second group of people that I said all these things for is, as I said earlier, almost every day, somebody is likely to come to you and say, this is happening in my marriage, and so on and so forth. When we don't have knowledge, we don't hit the nail on the head. So if you are watching somebody or you have a relationship of influence with you, when you have family meeting or when you are talking to them, instead of just saying, you two don't do that again, ask the person you think is being abusive. Ask them these questions point blank. Confront them with it. I don't mean shout with them. I don't mean shout on them, but ask them firmly ask those questions and show them. Yoruba people say that if you remove, I forget what they call it, ikpin is what we call it in Yoruba land. If you remove ikpin from your eyes, you show it to your eye. Now, people who behave in this way, the way we will help them is to point out to them that, if this is the way you are behaving, you may think is your character, but actually you are emotionally abusive. Now, if you're just joining us, this is the Right Fit Marriage Show. And the topic I'm discussing today is, are you emotionally abusive? And the reason I'm discussing it is because some people who are emotionally abusive do not realize that that is the way that they are. Maybe they were abused as children. Maybe in their environment, in the community they lived in, it is normal for people to relate with one another that way. But when we begin to call them out, when we begin to ask these questions and say, why are you treating your husband this way? Why are you treating your wife this way? Behaving in this way is emotional abuse. When we begin to say that, they will become aware and they will no longer have excuse. Now, the thing is this: when you begin to call people out, abusers do one of three things. Number one, especially in the early stages, abusers usually don't realize that what they're doing is wrong. And that's the reason why I'm saying this to you, because as we all become aware, instead of just assuming that is normal misunderstanding, normal crisis in marriage, when we recognize the signs of abuse, let's confront the person and hold them accountable, so that if they are in their early stages, they would begin to understand. Now, the second set of people are abusers who cannot stop themselves. It has become so habitual for them. You just cautioning them will not stop them. It has become part and parcel of them. Some of them, it may be because they are abusing substance, they may be abusing alcohol, they may be abusing drugs, they may be abusing some other things. When you have a person who is in that stage, simply talking to them is not going to help them. But when you confront them, you can also ask them, do they want to be helped? Do they want to be helped? So if somebody is not realizing that what they're doing is abuse, or if somebody has reached the stage where they cannot help themselves, and you start telling them, this thing you are doing is emotional abuse, you can ask them, do you want help? Now, if that person says they want help, then you refer them to the organizations I told you about last week, and I'm going to share the numbers again this week. When you talk to somebody and they say they're going to change, there are certain things that you must watch out for. Don't just assume that because they told you they are going to change, they are going to change. You have to look at their behavior and their action to determine whether or not they truly are changing. And what are the things that you should look out for? Number one, they must agree with you that what you say is abuse is abuse. If you ask these questions and they answer yes, and they are still telling you, I'm not abusing my partner, then that person is not serious. That person is not wanting to change. So that's the first thing. The person must agree with you that what you have said is abuse is actually abuse. That's the first sign. The second sign that you must watch out for is that the person should stop excusing the abusive behavior. If you are pointing out to somebody that they are emotionally abusing their partner and they are hiding it, and they're saying, hey, it's not my fault. If it wasn't that she did this, I would not have done so. Or if it wasn't that he treated me this way, I would not have done so. If they're still behaving that way, they are not changing. They don't want help. The person that is changing, when they do the action and somebody cautions them, they will agree that what they did is wrong. Now, the third thing is this, and you have to really open your eyes and your mind to that. Even if the person is doing all these things and they are abusing one substance or the other, when they are under the influence of that substance, whether it is alcohol, whether it is drugs, whatever it is, they are not responsible for themselves. So if the person is abusing substances, that person has to agree to go to a rehabilitation center. If they have not agreed to go to a rehabilitation center, that person cannot be said to be changing. And then whatever is happening, if a person has abusive tendencies, whether or not they're using substances, they must agree to go and get help. If somebody has an anger issue, they must agree to go and get help. If they have a violence issue, they must agree to go and get help. If they don't agree to go and get help, they have not started changing. You know, last week I mentioned that holding family meeting in the case of abuse is not helpful. As family members, we are not equipped to help both the abuser and the abused. And so we need to enlighten ourselves and be aware of these signs. Once we see those signs, there is no need for long family meeting. What is needful is to ask both the abuser and the abused to go for help. Now, abusers, if they agree to go for help, and if they follow the routine and the process that they are put through, especially if they go for help in the early stages, they can have healthy marriages. They can go out of that abusive way of doing things. But, as I said earlier, the first step is for the person to accept and admit that they have abusive tendencies, that they are relating with their partner in an abusive way. If somebody who you know is having abusive tendencies, if they accept, if they admit, if they begin to agree with you with your definition of abuse, please don't abandon them. Support them, encourage them, stand with them, direct them to the place where they will get help. Hold them accountable. When we begin to do that, we will have fewer people abusing, and then we will not have the problem of abusing so much. Now, there is a last type of abuser. You know, I said there is the one who is not unaware, there is the one who is abusing substance. There is a third kind of abuser who, even when you begin to speak to them like this, even when you begin to hold them accountable, they don't care. They won't listen to you. It's also important too for you to recognize that when you see that this person is not agreeing with you that what they're doing is abuse, if you see that they are rationalizing that, how do you mean? When somebody is angry, how will they not shout? How will they not, When you find somebody who is rationalizing their abuse, when you see that the person is abusing alcohol or other substances, when they are unwilling to get professional help, then that abuser is one who simply does not care. If they don't care, there isn't much that you can do. There is not much that you can do to get them to change. So what that means is that you need to provide every support for their partner to get help, to get out for their own safety and for their own sanity. That's the reason why I've taken the pains to say all of this, because inadvertently, people who are being abused come to us. And because we're not aware of these things, we're looking at their partner and we're encouraging the abused person to remain in the relationship. It is because we're ignorant. And so I encourage you, even if you've been with me in this broadcast, after the broadcast, listen to the broadcast again. If you have questions, ask me here, or you can inbox me. It's very good for us to provide support for couples who have marriage crisis. But it is more important that we identify marriage crisis that we don't have the capacity to help. When we see those kind of situations, either we recognize it from the side of the abuser or from the side of the abused. It's important that we refer them to people who have been trained, who are equipped, who can recognize abuse, who know exactly what to do. It's important that we refer them to those people. And the agencies I mentioned last week, here they are again. Number 1, Project Alert. And their number is 0803 304 7711. The second one is Media Concern, 0802 822 7134. The third one is Family Center, 0705 491 77 76. These names and numbers, they are also in the post that is accompanying this broadcast. These three organizations are in Lagos. If you are outside Lagos and you are listening to me, if you need to get help or you need to refer somebody to get help, call these numbers. Because they all work together, they'll be able to tell you who to go to in your own state or in your location. You can refer both the abusers and the abused to these helplines. These agencies have staff who understand the dynamics of abuse and who are trained and equipped to work with both the abusers and the abused persons and help them to formulate and implement safety plans that will get them out of the abuse situation. So, I've said a lot of things today. This is one broadcast that you shouldn't listen to just once. Listen to it again and again and again. Share it with your friends. The more enlightened we all are, the more that we will become an army of people who can address the issue of abuse in our communities. To end today's broadcast, I'm going to share with you 2 quotes. The first one is this: sometimes it is difficult to realize or to hear our own prejudices and to own up to their existence. But admitting there is a problem is the first step to discovery. The person who said these words is a man named Thomas Hodge. He wrote about the Rwandan massacre. And one of the things that made him to reach that conclusion is that many times bad things are happening around us. But because we are not aware, because we are not enlightened, we don't know how to address it. So again, I ask the question today: are you yourself emotionally abusive? This broadcast is first of all for you before you give the broadcast to another person. So are you emotionally abusive? Listen to the broadcast and find out if it applies to you. If it applies to you, begin to make amends right away. The second quote is this: refuse to inherit dysfunction. Learn new ways of living instead of repeating what you have lived through. For many people, how they came to be in abusive situations, especially if they are the abuser, is because they themselves were abused. Now, if you know what you suffered in the hands of an abuser, why will you not make the effort so that you don't become somebody who is making another person's life bad? So, refuse to inherit dysfunction. Learn new ways of living instead of repeating what you lived through. And the person who said this is Thelma Davis, an associate professor of psychology in the University of Pepperdine. These 2 quotes are also in the post that is accompanying this broadcast today. And so, as I end today's broadcast, at the Right Fit Marriage Academy, we have many resources that help you to walk through the differences that you and your partner have. Join our Facebook community or visit our website www.rightfitmarriage.com to access these resources. Thank you for joining the show today. Muyiwa, Love, Blessing, Geraldine, Lolade, Ella, Beatrice, and Olajumoke. Ezinne, thank you as well. And Eunice, who was the first to come online. Thank you also very much for joining today. Next Thursday, same time at 7 p.m., I'll be here again to bring you another episode of the Right Fit Marriage Show, your one-stop for tips to help you to succeed in marriage. But before you go, make sure that you share this broadcast. Share this broadcast on your timeline so that many more people can also learn. many more people can be enlightened about this matter of abuse and what we also can do. Have a restful evening. See you again next week.